Maybe one of these will help.
Whoa! I see you've added to your collection.
Yep, my lucky crane.
Oh, nice.
Lucky German pig.
Aw.
Oh, my Japanese waving cat.
Ooh.
That one's super lucky.
Cool.
My dollar horse from Sweden. I put all my good luck charms together. So that my weekend visit will go just right.
Smart thing. Thinking. They're picking you up on Friday, right?
Yep.
And I see you've got your lucky penny spot ready to go.
Yeah, it's the last one I need. Find a penny, pick it up.
And all day long, you'll have good luck.
Let's go finish the video.
Let's do it. Sam? Oh, there you are. The social worker's waiting for you.
Bye, Sam. Good luck. Where's she going? She's aging out.
Well, we're all gonna miss you around here.
What if I just stayed a couple more days?
Sam, we talked about this.
I know. I know. I just thought, for Hazel's sake. Maybe I could stick around here a bit longer, see her off for her visit.
If it were up to me, yes. But you're 18 now. This is how it works.
Just 2 more days.
I know, you're nervous. But you're moving into your own place. It is gonna be great.
Sure. Here's Chapter 1 of a richly narrated, novel-style retelling of Luck, 2022. Chapter 1. The Unluckiest Girl in the World. Rain pattered softly against the windows of Summerland Orphanage, tracing silvery threads down the glass like tears that never fell. Inside, a dim morning light filtered through the gray sky, brushing pale gold across the rows of twin beds, tidy shelves, and photos taped to the walls, each one a testament to hope and childhood dreams. In the farthest corner of the girls' dormitory, one bed was unusually quiet. No giggles, no sleepy murmurs. Just the gentle rhythm of someone lying very still, staring up at the ceiling. 18-year-old Sam Greenfield exhaled slowly, watching a faint spider crack in the plaster as if it might reveal the answer to her life's most persistent question. Why me? Why was she always the one to lose her toast butter side down? Why did she always get splashed by passing cars? Why did pens explode in her shirt pocket? Why did keys vanish right when she needed them most? But above all, why had she never found a forever family? Her chest ached with a quiet sort of longing. The kind that didn't scream, but throbbed with every empty birthday candle, every parent-teacher night she sat through alone, every weekend when friends left to visit relatives and she stayed behind. Sam was, by all accounts, the unluckiest girl in the world. With a grunt, she sat up, tossing aside the covers. Her tangled raven-black hair fell into her face. She didn't bother brushing it back as she swung her legs over the side of the bed. Her mismatched socks, one striped, one polka-dotted, peeked out beneath her too short jeans. Her orphanage uniform had seen better days. So had her mood. She glanced across the room to where little Hazel still slept, curled up in a tight ball of blankets and dreams. Hazel was only 5, all wide eyes and wild stories, and Sam had spent the last year being her unofficial big sister. Please let her get a family, Sam thought as she padded softly across the room. Let someone pick her. Because someone should get a happy ending, even if it wasn't Sam. Downstairs, the smell of burnt toast met her before she even reached the kitchen. She sighed, shoulders slumping. "Good morning, Sam," came the overly chipper voice of Miss Laura, the house director, who was valiantly attempting to scrape charcoal from a slice of bread. Sam gave her a half-smile. "Smells edible." Miss Laura chuckled, brushing a graying curl behind her ear. "That's the spirit. Big day today, huh?" Sam blinked. "Big day." Miss Laura gave her a knowing look. "Your first day at the apartment. The job. College prep. Adult life." "Oh, right." The reality settled like a pebble in her gut. Sam was officially aged out of the system. No more bunk beds. No more shared closets. No more waiting for parents who never showed. She'd been assigned a modest apartment across town and a job in retail. It wasn't glamorous, but it was hers. Her own space. Her own key. Her own loneliness. Miss Laura placed a plate of eggs and toast in front of her. The toast cracked in half the moment it hit the table. Sam stared at it. Of course. The morning passed in a blur of boxes, bus rides, and awkward goodbyes. Hazel had clung to her fiercely at the curb, whispering, "Asterisk, don't forget me, okay?" Asterisk. "I won't," Sam promised, brushing a tear from Hazel's cheek. "You're unforgettable." The apartment was smaller than she expected. One window. One mattress. One leaky faucet. The fridge buzzed like a wasp trapped behind drywall. But at least it had a door that locked, and it was hers. Sam dropped onto the mattress, letting the silence fill the space. This was what adulthood sounded like. No laughter. No footsteps. Just the hollow echo of freedom. That night, after a less-than-edible dinner and a broken microwave, she slipped outside for air. The city streets glistened from a recent rain, neon reflections dancing across puddles. Her hands were stuffed in her hoodie pockets as she wandered aimlessly, no destination, just motion. Anything to avoid sitting still with the weight of being unwanted. She passed by glowing windows, families eating dinner, couples laughing, kids watching cartoons. Life happened in golden rectangles, and she was always on the outside looking in. Then, something moved. A flicker in the alleyway. A shadow darted past her boots. Sam froze. A small, black creature skittered toward the mouth of the alley, quick, silent, and feline. "A cat," she murmured, stepping forward. But this wasn't just any cat. Its coat was impossibly sleek, a pure obsidian that shimmered faintly under the lamplight. And around its neck, hanging like an odd ornament, was a tiny green vest. The cat turned its emerald eyes toward her, studied her for a moment, and then, just as quickly, bolted into the darkness. "Wait," Sam called, for reasons she couldn't explain. She chased after it, around trash bins, over puddles, through rusted gates and cracked fences. The cat was fast, but not faster than her bad luck. She tripped over a pipe, tumbled headfirst into a pile of boxes, and came up with a face full of dust. But when she looked up, the cat was sitting just a few feet away, watching her with what could only be described as smug amusement. "You are so weird," Sam said, brushing herself off. Then she noticed something. A coin, lying right beneath where the cat had been. Shiny, golden, embossed with a symbol that looked like a four-leaf clover cradled in a pair of wings. She picked it up, feeling an odd warmth in her palm. And in that moment, something changed. The clouds parted overhead, revealing a crescent moon. A gentle breeze lifted the edge of her hoodie. A streetlight flickered and steadied. And for the first time in a long time, Sam felt something she hadn't dared to name in years. Hope. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 2? Thank you for sharing Chapter 1. It's beautifully written with vivid atmosphere, emotional nuance, and a cinematic touch. Here's a rewritten version of the same story in my own words, while keeping the heart and key events intact. I've preserved the tone, richly narrated, novel style, but added a slightly different rhythm and voice for variation. Chapter 1. A Life of Misfires. Rain whispered across the rooftops of Summerland Orphanage, its gentle drumming painting the early morning in soft melancholy. Beads of water traced delicate lines down the dormitory windows, blurring the world outside into gray watercolor. Inside, the room lay still, save for the hum of sleep and the distant creak of old wood. In the far corner, Sam Greenfield lay motionless in her bed, eyes fixed on the ceiling like they were reading the secrets scrawled between the cracks. 18 years old, practically an adult by the state standards, and yet she felt like a broken compass in a storm, spinning, directionless. Bad luck clung to her like static. She didn't just trip on cracks, sidewalks seemed to reach for her. Traffic lights changed when she crossed. Umbrellas inverted over her head. And toast always landed butter side down. But worse than all the petty inconveniences was the one silent truth that weighed most of all. No one had ever chosen her. Family visits had come and gone. Applications arrived and vanished. All her birthdays were marked not by candles and cake, but by a gnawing emptiness. Sam had grown used to being the afterthought, the background character in everyone else's life. She exhaled through her nose and sat up, swinging her legs over the side of the bed. Her socks, one navy blue with tiny cacti, the other bright pink with bananas, didn't match. Fitting. Her jet-black hair fell in messy waves past her shoulders, and her shirt was stretched at the collar from too many cycles through an industrial dryer. Across the room, Hazel, 5 years old and full of big dreams, slept like a bundled burrito under her blankets. Sam couldn't help but smile faintly. She'd been Hazel's rock all year. A big sister in everything but name. Let someone pick her, Sam wished silently, pressing her palm to the doorway before heading downstairs. Let her get the luck I never had. The kitchen greeted her with the smell of scorched bread and a sputtering coffee pot. Miss Laura, the ever-hopeful house director, was mid-toast rescue, flapping a towel at the smoke alarm. "Morning, Sam," she chirped, as if burnt toast were just part of the charm. Sam raised an eyebrow. "Going for crispy surprise again?" Miss Laura grinned. "Keeps you guessing." She set down a plate of eggs and what used to be toast. Sam poked it with a fork. It cracked like pottery. "I believe this one has achieved fossil status," she murmured. Miss Laura chuckled, unfazed. "Today's the big leap, huh? Moving into your new place, starting your job. Big girl pants. Right. The leap." Sam had officially aged out. No more dormitories. No more shared toothpaste. Just a government-assigned apartment and a retail job waiting across town. No safety net. No family. Just herself. She rode the bus with a cardboard box in her lap and a stone in her gut. Hazel hugged her tight at the curb, whispering, "Don't forget me." "Never," Sam whispered back, voice cracking. "You're my favorite chapter." The apartment was smaller than she'd imagined. One room. One creaky mattress. One fridge that buzzed louder than it cooled. It smelled like old paint and isolation. Still, it had a lock. And for the first time, the key in Sam's pocket was hers. She unpacked in silence, listening to the echo of her own movements. She didn't cry. She didn't smile. She just was, a ghost settling into a space not built for comfort, but for survival. That night, the microwave sparked and died. Her instant noodles came out half-cooked. She left the bowl in the sink and stepped out into the drizzle, hoodie pulled tight against the wind. The city shimmered with puddles and fluorescent signs. Sam wandered with no aim, just the need to feel the night press against her skin, to remind herself that she was still real. She passed glowing apartment windows, snapshots of lives in motion. Dinner tables. Cartoons. Laughter. She watched from the outside, always from the outside. Then something shifted. A blur near the alley. A shadow that moved too smoothly. A cat. Not just any cat. Midnight black, coat like polished glass, with a curious flick of the tail, and a green vest? Sam blinked, certain her eyes deceived her. The cat stared at her, cool and composed, then turned and slipped into the dark. "Hey, wait!" she called, already giving chase. She dashed through puddles, skidded past dumpsters, and tumbled over a rogue pipe. Her landing was graceless, flat on her face in a pile of soggy cardboard. Of course. But when she sat up, the cat was right there, watching her, judging her, smirking. "You're seriously weird," she muttered. That's when she saw it. A coin, golden, polished, glowing faintly like it had soaked in moonlight. It rested exactly where the cat had stood. She picked it up. Warmth pulsed through her fingers. The design shimmered, a clover embraced by tiny wings. As she stared, the clouds above broke open. Moonlight spilled onto the street. A breeze brushed her cheek. And something lifted. It was nothing she could name. Not luck, not magic, not certainty. But it felt like the beginning of a miracle. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 2 in this voice? Of course. Here is Chapter 2 of the 100,000-word novel-style retelling of Luck, 2022. Chapter 2. A Lucky Penny, a Stranger Alley. Sam turned the coin over in her hand. It gleamed even in the low light, its golden surface unmarred, as if untouched by time, dirt, or human hands. The clover insignia shimmered like dew in sunlight, intricate and deliberate. This wasn't some novelty trinket from a toy machine. This felt important. And yet, it lay abandoned in an alley, dropped, perhaps discarded, by a cat in a vest. She glanced around again. No one else in sight. The street was empty, save for the soft hush of traffic a block away and the glinting eyes of that strange cat, who still hadn't left. "You dropped this," she murmured, unsure why she felt compelled to address an animal. The cat blinked slowly, with the measured grace of a creature that knew far more than it let on. Then, without warning, it turned and padded back into the darkness, tail held aloft like a flag. Sam stood frozen for a moment, the coin still clutched in her fingers. Then something strange happened. A breeze stirred through the alley, and with it came a cascade of signs. A toppled trash can, a loose grate in the sidewalk, a low-hanging clothesline, each a perfect recipe for another disaster. Normally, she'd stumble, trip, or land face-first in garbage by now. But instead, she moved forward effortlessly, almost gracefully. She stepped over the grate just as a rat scurried out. She ducked the clothesline without seeing it. The trash can righted itself as she brushed past it, balanced by a gust of wind. What the... Sam paused at the edge of the alley. The streetlight flickered above her once more, then glowed steadily. Something was definitely different. She pocketed the coin and made her way back to her apartment, every step infused with a strange lightness, as if the universe had shifted ever so slightly in her favor. And the next morning confirmed it. Her alarm didn't die mid-buzz. The water in the shower turned warm immediately. The bus arrived on time. And at the local department store where she'd just started work, everything went her way. The cash register worked without a glitch. The computer system didn't crash. She didn't spill coffee on her uniform or accidentally tear her name tag. Even the angry customers somehow found her helpful. "Wow," said Maria, a fellow cashier, blinking in disbelief after a particularly smooth morning. "You're like on a hot streak or something." "Yeah," Sam muttered, eyes wide. "It's weird." By lunch, the vending machine didn't eat her dollar. It gave her 2 granola bars. "I think the universe is drunk," she whispered to herself, watching a seagull narrowly miss her with a dropping as she passed by the open plaza. Or maybe it's just that coin. She reached into her pocket and held it up again. It was warm, pulsing softly like a hidden heartbeat. Could this really be the cause of her sudden luck? It didn't seem possible. It was just a coin. And yet, a car tire burst right in front of her on the sidewalk. She gasped, but the debris skidded away from her. The driver, unharmed, waved thanks at the people who helped. Not a single shard came near her. She felt like she was in a snow globe made of good fortune, protected by something invisible and utterly bizarre. That night, back in her apartment, Sam stared at the coin as it lay on the kitchen counter, bathed in golden lamplight. "This is not normal," she said aloud. She grabbed her phone, opened the search engine, and typed, "Lucky coin 4-leaf clover symbol plus wings." A dozen random Etsy listings popped up. Some folklore articles. But nothing matched. Nothing about cats in vests or coins that literally bent the laws of probability. Then a thought occurred to her. What if the cat wasn't just lost, but part of all this? What kind of animal wore a vest? That wasn't accidental. That was uniform. Designed. Deliberate. She remembered its eyes, green like emerald fire, intense and intelligent. And the way it looked at her, not like prey or annoyance, but like an equal. What if it had dropped the coin on purpose? And more importantly, what if it wanted it back? The next morning, her lucky streak continued, but with it came a growing sense of unease. Like something had been set in motion and couldn't be undone. While walking to work, she passed a construction site just as a steel beam slipped from a crane. People screamed, but not her. The beam missed her by inches, wedging perfectly between two parked cars without harming a soul. "Are you okay?" a woman shouted. "Why, yeah," Sam stammered, clutching the coin. Her heart was hammering. Too close. Too lucky. The world wasn't just accommodating her now, it was rearranging itself around her. For every misstep, every near tragedy, something unseen intervened. The laws of randomness were being overridden. By this, she needed answers. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in streaks of coral and violet, Sam made a decision. She went back to the alley, the one where she'd found the coin, and waited. Hours passed. The night deepened, the streetlights hummed, and the city buzzed on around her. She was just beginning to wonder if she'd imagined it all, if maybe she really was going mad, when a shimmer, a flicker of movement. There, at the mouth of the alley, stood the black cat once more. Emerald eyes glowing. Vest pristine. It approached her slowly, tail curling like a question mark. Sam crouched down. "I knew you were real," she whispered. "And I think this is yours." She held out the coin. The cat eyed it, then her. And then it spoke. Not with words, but with action. In a blur, the cat leapt, snatched the coin gently in its mouth, and darted down the alley. Sam didn't hesitate. She followed. But this time, the alley didn't end in shadows. This time, the bricks shimmered. A seam split open in the air like the skin of a dream peeling back. And Sam Greenfield, unluckiest girl in the world, stepped through it. Into a world no human was ever meant to see. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 3? Absolutely. Here's Chapter 2 of the novel-style retelling of Luck, 2022, continuing in the same richly narrated, emotionally layered voice. Chapter 2. The Coin and the Cat. Sam turned the coin over in her fingers again and again as she walked back toward her apartment, the metal still radiating a strange, subtle warmth, like it was alive. Or aware. The weight of it in her palm was oddly reassuring, like a heartbeat that wasn't hers. A lucky coin. She almost laughed. It was ridiculous. It had to be. She didn't believe in luck. Not anymore. Not after everything. The universe hadn't exactly done her any favors so far. But still, tonight felt different. The sky was clearer. Her steps lighter. The buzzing fridge had stopped its migraine-inducing hum when she walked back inside, and the microwave, miraculously, worked again. The noodles, perfectly warm. For once. She narrowed her eyes suspiciously at the coin as it sat beside her bowl on the wobbly little kitchen table. "What are you?" No answer, obviously. Just a gleam in the low light. Sam finished her dinner, put the coin in the pocket of her jeans, and collapsed onto the mattress. Sleep found her quickly for the first time in ages, deep, dreamless, and quiet. The next morning, she woke to the smell of coffee. Coffee? She didn't own a coffee maker. She sat up sharply, heart leaping, only to find that the scent was drifting in from the open window. Some neighbor, maybe. But her heart was still racing as she glanced around. Everything looked surprisingly okay. The faucet, which had groaned like a dying walrus the night before, now ran smooth. The ceiling didn't drip. The air didn't smell like mildew. She narrowed her eyes again. Too weird. After throwing on her clothes, still mismatched, but clean, she grabbed her phone. No dropped calls. No dead battery. No SIM card failure message like usual. She opened her weather app, expecting the usual downpour icon. Sunny. She checked the bus schedule. No delays. On time. Her eyes flicked to the coin, still nestled in her pocket. Okay, she muttered aloud, grabbing her bag. Let's test this. At the corner cafe near her new workplace, Sam decided to tempt fate. She didn't order her usual safe bet, black coffee and a muffin. No, she went all in, a specialty caramel latte with oat milk and a triple shot espresso, and a pastry with actual layers. Normally, she'd expect the barista to hear the order wrong or drop the cup on delivery. But not today. The drink arrived perfect. The pastry, still warm. Even the seat she found by the window wasn't taken, and had an outlet. Sam just stared for a second. Then she sat down very slowly, suspicious of the entire cosmos. This is a trap, she thought. This is absolutely a trap. But nothing bad happened. When she arrived at the store for her first shift, the automatic doors didn't close on her foot. The manager, a tired-looking woman named Maria, actually smiled. And get this, Sam's name tag was spelled correctly. It was unsettling. Even the customers weren't total nightmares. She rang up a woman buying art supplies and somehow didn't drop anything. A toddler threw a tantrum in aisle 5, but not on Sam's watch. She even managed to help an old man fix his debit card swipe without accidentally deleting the entire register's history. For the unluckiest girl in the world, this was basically a superpower. During her break, she sat on the back steps of the store, sipping from a vending machine soda, which didn't get stuck for once, and took the coin out again. Still warm. Still golden. Still impossibly perfect. Then, she heard it. A rustle. A soft patter. A faint meow. Sam turned her head slowly, and saw him. The black cat. Again. Perched on top of a dumpster, tail curled, vest pristine. Those bright green eyes locked onto hers with what could only be described as annoyed intelligence. Like he was wondering why it had taken her so long to put the pieces together. You, Sam said, standing. The cat blinked. You followed me. The cat hopped down from the dumpster in one graceful leap and strutted toward her like he owned the entire city. He sat down just beyond reach, tail flicking, and waited. Sam stepped forward. You dropped the coin. Last night. Didn't you? A twitch of his ear. A slow, deliberate blink. Then, without warning, he spoke. Well, technically you tripped, and it rolled away. But yes, I had it first. Sam stumbled back, nearly dropping her soda. What? I know, the cat said with a sigh, licking a paw with casual grace. Talking animal. You're shocked. Screaming is optional, but I'd prefer if you didn't. I'm still on the clock. Sam's jaw moved, but no sound came out. He tilted his head. Name's Bob. And I need that coin back. She stared. You're a cat. Excellent observation. Yes. And you're a human who's been borrowing property that technically belongs to the Land of Luck. The what now? The Land of Luck, Bob said, pacing now. A very real place. Extremely well organized. Magical. Hidden. Full of rules, bureaucracy, and things that make your toaster not explode. Sam blinked. You're messing with me. Not even a little, Bob replied dryly. And look, I really do need that coin. It's not exactly a souvenir. It's part of a larger system. Without it, well, things up there go wonky. And things down here, even worse. Sam's hand instinctively slipped into her pocket. "No offense," she said, voice sharp, "but this coin has been the only good thing to happen to me in years. I'm not just going to give it up because a talking cat in a vest says so." Bob sighed. "I was afraid you'd say that." He sat down again, flicking his tail. "Well then," he muttered, almost to himself, "looks like I'm going to have to take you with me." "To where?" "To the land of luck," Bob said with a resigned look. "Because whether you like it or not, you've already tipped the balance." Would you like to continue with Chapter 3? Absolutely. Here is Chapter 3 of the 100,000-word novel-style retelling of Luck, 2022. Chapter 3. Welcome to the Land of Luck. The sensation of stepping through the shimmering seam was like being wrapped in silk, dunked in soda bubbles, and shot through a kaleidoscope, dizzying and strange, yet oddly exhilarating. One moment, Sam was chasing a talking cat through a city alleyway. The next, she was somewhere else entirely. As the shimmer faded, the world unfolded before her eyes, glorious, surreal, and utterly impossible. She stood on a wide cobblestone street paved with polished clover-shaped stones that sparkled beneath her sneakers. Above, a sky shimmered like morning dew, an iridescent dome with no sun, yet everything glowed with warm daylight. Floating islands drifted lazily in the distance, tethered to the ground by glimmering rainbow threads. In the distance, great golden gears rotated in the air, suspended by invisible forces, clicking together in perfect harmony like some divine clockwork. This was not Earth. At least, not any part of it she'd ever seen. Sam's breath caught. What in the actual? Before she could finish the thought, the black cat reappeared beside her, completely unfazed by the madness around them. He padded forward with the same dignified air as a butler in Buckingham Palace. "Wait," Sam called, catching up. "Where are we? What is this place?" The cat glanced back, eyes sharp. "I suppose there's no going back now," he muttered, asterisk in perfect English, asterisk. Sam stopped cold. You asterisk can talk." Asterisk. "Of course I can talk," the cat said flatly. "You just weren't listening properly before. Humans rarely do." She stared, jaw slack. "I'm Bob," he said, trotting ahead with no further ceremony. "Welcome to the Land of Luck." Sam stumbled forward. "The what now?" Bob didn't stop. "The Land of Luck. You know, good fortune, positive outcomes, serendipity, miracles, rainbows, finding parking on a busy day. All of that originates here." Sam blinked rapidly, trying to keep up with both his words and the scenery. The buildings that lined the street shimmered with an otherworldly elegance. Tall towers of glass and gold, spinning windmills made of feathers, doors that opened and closed by themselves as creatures of every shape and size passed through. And not just creatures, asterisk magical ones star. A bunny in a business suit checked his glowing clipboard. A pair of tiny winged fairies flew past, carrying trays of what looked like glowing shamrock-shaped cupcakes. A unicorn in a blazer was talking on a phone. Bob continued speaking, utterly unbothered. This is where all the good luck in the human world is generated, filtered, and distributed. Every lucky penny, every chance encounter, every just-in-time moment. You're looking at the factory behind the magic. "You're serious," Sam said. "Deadly." She paused. "This is insane." Bob snorted. Not as insane as a human trespassing with a luck coin in her pocket. Sam frowned, suddenly self-conscious. "I didn't steal it. You dropped it. And you kept it," Bob retorted. "You didn't even know what it was." She looked at the coin, now dangling from his vest pocket. "Okay, fine. You're right. But it saved my life. Multiple times. And broke every rule of cosmic order in the process," Bob snapped. "Do you know how many red flags you triggered just by walking around with that thing?" "I didn't mean to," Sam protested. For once, things were finally going right. I didn't want to give it up." Bob stopped walking and turned to face her squarely. "Luck isn't just about things going your way, Sam. It's a balance. A flow. And you, with your little joyride, completely disrupted it." Sam opened her mouth to argue, but something in his eyes stopped her. He wasn't angry. He was worried. She swallowed. "So, what happens now?" Bob sighed deeply. Now, I have to fix it. Before anyone finds out, I let a human into a world strictly off-limits to humans. Strictly. Sam's eyes widened. Wait, you're not going to, like, erase my memory or banish me or throw me in luck jail or something, are you? Please. We don't have a jail, Bob muttered. This is the land of good luck. That would be bad PR. He resumed walking, and Sam followed, eyes wide as they crossed a floating bridge made of twinkling lights. Below it, great rivers of golden sparkles flowed like liquid starlight, winding through valleys of emerald green. So if this is where good luck comes from, she said, does that mean there's a place for bad luck too? Bob's ears twitched. You ask a lot of questions. I'm in a magical dimension run by talking cats. Yeah, I have questions. Bob gave a reluctant nod. Yes. There is also a land of bad luck. And before you ask, yes, it's real, yes, it's dangerous, and yes, it's connected to this place by a very delicate system that you've already messed up by being here. Sam frowned. So what happens if the balance is thrown off? Bob looked up at her, face solemn. Then both worlds, yours and ours, start to collapse under the weight of randomness. Chaos. Unlucky accidents piling up. People in your world would lose jobs, miss opportunities, crash cars, get rained on every day. Total disaster. Sam paled. And you think that's happening now? Not yet. But if anyone finds out a human's been using a luck coin, we won't have to imagine. They arrived at a glowing central plaza, shaped like a giant cloverleaf with 4 branching streets. At its heart stood a towering crystal spire, radiating green and gold energy, pulsing in slow, hypnotic waves. Bob pointed with his tail. That's the luck distribution center. Think of it like the beating heart of this world. Luck gets purified there, then sent out to the human world. And who runs this whole place? Sam asked, barely able to take her eyes off the crystal tower. The captain, Bob said quietly. CEO, ruler, head of the Luck Management Bureau. She's stern, brilliant, and very fond of rules. Sam gulped. I don't suppose she'd be cool about this? Bob gave her a long look. Let's just say if she knew what you were, you'd already be out of here. Before Sam could ask another question, a bell chimed in the distance. And from the far side of the plaza, a sleek, immaculate figure stepped into view. A tall, regal woman with a sparkling emerald coat and a clipboard of glowing documents. Sam's breath caught. Is that? Bob nodded grimly. Yes. That's her. The captain. And she was walking straight toward them. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 4? Absolutely. Here is Chapter 3 of the novel-style retelling of Luck, 2022. Chapter 3. Down the Rabbit Hole. Sam stood frozen in the alley behind the store, staring at the black cat who had just spoken of magical lands and balance and destiny, as if it was all perfectly reasonable. As if any of this made sense. You're serious, she finally whispered. Bob lifted one sleek brow, which was impressive for a cat. Do I look like I'm joking? Well, yes. Sam exclaimed. You're a cat. Wearing a vest. Who talks? And you expect me to believe there's a whole world where what? Luck is made. Bob gave a small sigh of weary patience and hopped onto the nearby dumpster, his tail swishing behind him. Not made. Managed. Maintained. It's a well-oiled machine. Or, it was. Until you got involved. Sam frowned, bristling. I didn't ask for this. You're the one who left the coin lying around. I didn't leave it. Bob snapped. I dropped it, accidentally, because I was being chased. By a very large, very angry dog. It happens. Sam blinked. Even to lucky cats. Bob growled under his breath. I was lucky. Until I lost the coin. Which is why I need it back. Now. Sam crossed her arms. Well, I need it too. You think I'm going to give up the only good thing I've ever had just because a talking alley cat demands it? The two glared at each other in stubborn silence, until Bob finally looked away and muttered, Fine. You want proof. I'll show you the land of luck. You come with me, and you'll see how big of a mistake this all is. Sam hesitated. Her fingers toyed with the coin in her pocket. Everything logical in her brain screamed that this was insane. That she should walk away. Go home. Forget the talking cat, the magic coin, the whole strange mess. But then again, what did she really have to go back to? A cold apartment. A part-time job. A world where she was always one step behind everyone else. This was madness. But madness felt better than nothing. She nodded, slowly. Okay. I'm in. Bob blinked. Really? That easy? No. Not easy. But, yeah. Bob leapt down, landing gracefully at her feet. Good. Because we're running out of time. He turned, tail high, and began trotting briskly toward the back of the alley. Sam followed, dodging puddles and loose trash bags. So, where is this magical land, exactly? Narnia. Oz. Is there a wardrobe I should be climbing into? Less wardrobe, Bob muttered. More manhole. He stopped beside a rusted maintenance cover tucked behind a forgotten utility shed. Scratched into the metal was a strange symbol, 2 arrows spinning in a circle, wrapped around a clover leaf. Bob stood on it, looked up at Sam, and said, "Keep the coin in your hand. Hold it tight." Sam did. "Now jump." She blinked. Wait, what? But Bob had already vanished. Right through the metal. As if the ground had turned to water. Sam stared in disbelief, her heart hammering. "Oh, you have got to be kidding." The manhole shimmered. Her hand clutched the coin tighter. Then, before her fear could stop her, she stepped forward. And fell. For a moment, the world turned inside out. Up became sideways. Gravity looped. Colors danced and blurred past her as she tumbled through what felt like a tunnel made of light and mist and pulsing, ethereal hums. She didn't fall so much as drift, limbs floating, the coin glowing like a tiny sun in her palm. Then, with a thump, she landed on soft moss. Birdsong filled the air. The sky above her shimmered, not blue, but a soft, golden-pink hue, like a sunrise that never ended. The trees were shaped like swirls, their bark glittering faintly. A gentle breeze carried the scent of peppermint and clover. Sam sat up slowly, her mouth falling open. They were in a meadow. A perfect, impossible meadow. "Welcome," Bob said beside her, brushing dust off his vest with his paw, "to the land of luck." Ahead of them rose a city. Yes, a city, with arching golden bridges and floating lanterns. Creatures bustled in and out of elegant buildings that looked like a cross between a steampunk clockwork world and a fairy tale palace. Rabbits in waistcoats zipped by on scooters. A towering leprechaun with a clipboard barked orders to a team of pig-tailed pixies. Shimmering airships floated lazily across the sky. Every inch of the place radiated charm and order. Bob motioned with his paw. "This is the good luck side. We try to keep everything running smoothly, until someone steals a coin and throws the whole balance into chaos." Sam couldn't tear her eyes away. "This is real. All of this is real." Bob's voice dropped into a growl. "And if we don't fix it soon, you'll see the bad luck side, and trust me, it's not nearly as pretty." Sam looked down at the coin still glowing in her hand, and for the first time, she began to understand. This wasn't just about her luck anymore. Would you like to continue with Chapter 4? Absolutely. Here's Chapter 4 of the 100,000-word novel-style retelling of Luck, 2022. Chapter 4. The Captain of Fortune. Sam's heart leapt into her throat. The woman moving toward them radiated an aura of perfection. Not beauty, exactly, though she was striking, tall and commanding, with high cheekbones and eyes like polished jade, but precision. Everything about her was exact. Her walk, her posture, the meticulous placement of each hair tucked behind her ear. Her coat shimmered with clover-green embroidery, and on her shoulder sat a tiny dragon, no bigger than a teacup, its scales like flecks of gold. It looked at Sam with a stare that was somehow even more judgmental than Bob's. "Bob," said the captain in a voice as smooth and unwavering as a tuning fork. "Report." Bob gave a stiff bow. "Captain." A slight anomaly in the distribution grid required field monitoring. "I was handling it." Her sharp eyes flicked to Sam. Sam instinctively straightened up, hiding her hands behind her back like a kid caught sneaking cookies. "And who is this?" the captain asked coolly. Bob stepped forward. Temp observer. New protocol from, Research and Development. I was instructed to show her around." The captain didn't blink. "There are no such protocols." Bob cleared his throat. "It's, experimental. Without my authorization." Sam saw the muscles in Bob's back tense. "You were in your quarterly review meeting, Captain. I didn't want to interrupt." There was a beat of silence. The dragon on her shoulder let out a suspicious puff of smoke. The captain's eyes narrowed then, just as suddenly, she turned away. "Very well. Submit a full anomaly report by evening. And keep your observer on a short leash." She strode off with the regal bearing of a queen at a gala, her dragon snorting a final skeptical puff in Sam's direction. Only when she disappeared into a corridor lined with floating staircases did Bob exhale. "Well," Sam whispered, "that was terrifying." Bob flicked his tail. "You have no idea." Bob led her away from the plaza, down quieter side streets where things were less polished. Gears squeaked slightly, floating orbs dimmed at intervals, and a few buildings had lopsided charm to them. It was clear this was where the real workers lived, the backbone of the good luck operation. "So," Sam said as they walked, "what exactly do you do here? Are you, like, the mailman of luck?" Bob gave her a sideways glare. "I'm a field agent. Maintenance and surveillance. I keep the systems running, patch irregularities, and, until now, avoid drawing attention." "And the coin?" Sam pressed. "That," Bob said bitterly, "was a travel coin. My travel coin. It gives me safe passage in and out of the land of luck and into the human world. They're incredibly rare. Only authorized agents have them." Sam winced. "And I kind of hijacked it. Asterisk exactly. Asterisk." They reached a modest building made of bronze and ivy, nestled between two towers of sparkling green glass. Bob pushed open the door with his paw. Inside was what could only be described as a cat's bachelor pad mixed with a mad scientist's lab. Blueprints covered the walls, stacks of glowing paper floated in midair, and gadgets whirred softly on counters. A robotic arm was attempting to butter toast, and failing spectacularly. Sam turned in place, awestruck. "You live here. Don't get excited." "You're not staying," Bob said flatly, hopping onto a cushion by a crystal-powered terminal. She didn't answer. Her eyes had settled on something on the wall, a photo. It showed Bob, younger and less grumpy, standing beside the captain and a tall rabbit in a lab coat. They were smiling. Actually smiling. Bob noticed her gaze and quickly flicked his tail over the frame. "None of your business." Sam backed away. Okay. He sighed. "Look, we have a problem. The system's already flagged the coin's misuse. If they dig deeper and find out a human's been here..." "We're toast," Sam finished. "Burnt toast," he agreed. She sat down on a stool shaped like a giant clover. "So what do we do?" Bob stared at her for a long moment, then, reluctantly, he tapped a few buttons on the terminal. A glowing schematic of the entire land of luck sprang into view, a pulsing diagram of gears, pipelines, energy routes, and one massive chamber labeled the randomizer. "We need to return the coin," Bob said. "Insert it back into the randomizer to reset the flow and remove the anomaly signature. That should wipe the alert before the auditors scan for unauthorized influence." Sam nodded slowly. "Sounds easy." "It's not," Bob said grimly. "The randomizer is in the core of the entire system. It's off-limits except during official resets. That means we'll need to sneak in." Sam raised a brow. "You're suggesting we break into the heart of your magic kingdom and stick the coin back like nothing happened?" "Essentially." "Great. What could go wrong?" Bob ignored the sarcasm. "We do it quietly, we do it fast, and we don't get caught." "And what happens if we do get caught?" Sam asked. Bob met her eyes. "Then luck as your world knows it collapses. Forever." Sam swallowed hard. "Okay," she said softly. "Then let's fix it." Bob gave a begrudging nod. They were now partners in crime. But as they began assembling a plan, Deep beneath the shining heart of the city, far below the clover towers and floating gardens, another system stirred. Dark pipes, harsh shadows, rust instead of gold. Down in the unseen underworld of the land of luck, a valve hissed, a dial spun, and somewhere in the land of bad luck, a crimson-eyed gremlin opened a dusty file labeled, "Unauthorized Human Detected." Would you like to continue with Chapter 5? Of course. Here's Chapter 4 of the novel-style retelling of Luck, 2022. Chapter 4, Welcome to the Machine. The city ahead gleamed like a dream painted in clockwork and sunlight. Sam followed Bob through winding, cobblestone streets that shimmered with an almost too-perfect polish. Everything ticked and turned in precise harmony. Flower petals opened exactly on cue, fountains sprayed in swirling patterns, and traffic flowed without a single honk or hiccup. It was as if the whole world were choreographed. Overhead, a massive golden mechanism turned in slow, mesmerizing circles. Gears the size of buildings spun silently, suspended in the air above the city. Glowing threads of energy pulsed between them, like neurons firing in a brain far beyond human understanding. Sam stared upward, breath caught. "What is that?" Bob glanced back. "That's the luck engine. Keeps the whole system running. Good luck to the human world, bad luck too, but always in balance." "You've interfered." Sam instinctively clutched the coin in her pocket. "I didn't mean to." "I believe you," Bob said flatly. "That doesn't mean it didn't happen." They passed a trio of rabbits in vests, sorting four-leaf clovers into baskets labeled Fortune, Fate, and Oops. One waved politely at Sam. Another dropped his clover and yelped as it turned into a puff of smoke. "Are those working-class rabbits?" she asked. "Luck field agents," Bob explained. "They harvest the good stuff. Run maintenance. Patch up leaks in probability." Sam blinked. "That's absurd." "And yet," Bob said, "here you are." They reached a towering building shaped like a lighthouse crossed with a wind-up music box. A sign at the top spun slowly, "Luck Management Bureau." Inside, it was chaos in a very organized way. Elves with briefcases darted through rotating doors. A dragon in a necktie dictated memos to a typewriter that typed itself. Elevators zipped up and down without visible cables, each one labeled with symbols Sam couldn't decipher. Bob led her straight past the front desk. A ladybug in a headset tried to stop them, but he waved her off. "She's with me," he said curtly. They entered a small, circular office with walls made of spiraling cogs and shelves overflowing with glittering paperwork. A nameplate floated in the air. Jeff the Unicorn, Interdepartmental Director of Fortuity Affairs. The unicorn behind the desk looked like a CEO stepped out of a sparkle factory. His mane shimmered with every color imaginable, and his horn glowed softly, pulsing to the beat of his speech. "Bob," he said in a rich, velvety voice, "you're late." And, his gaze shifted to Sam, "You brought a human. Fascinating. Troubling. Unscheduled." "She's the one who found the lost coin," Bob said. Jeff's nostrils flared. The coin? As in?" Bob nodded. Jeff turned to Sam with an unsettling level of seriousness. "Human, what is your designation?" Sam blinked. "My what?" "Your luck rating," Jeff said. "She's, unquantified," Bob answered quickly. "She's from the outside." Jeff gasped as if someone had thrown a shoe at his horn. An unregistered human in possession of a premium-grade luck coin. Bob, this violates 12 regulations. 13, if you count the vest, Bob muttered. Jeff paced, hooves tapping against the floor in rhythmic clinks. The coin must be returned immediately. Otherwise the entire good luck, bad luck exchange equilibrium could collapse. Sam bristled. "Okay, listen. I didn't ask for this. I didn't know any of this even existed. I just found a coin that, finally, made things not awful for once. I wasn't trying to break anything." Jeff's horn dimmed. For a long moment, he studied her face. Intent does not negate consequence. Sam looked down, her fingers curling tightly around the coin. Bob cleared his throat. "She may not be registered, but she's not a threat. She came here willingly. And She's had bad luck her whole life. Jeff tilted his head. Truly, statistically consistent bad luck. Ask her toaster, Bob said dryly. The unicorn sighed, then gestured with his horn toward a swirling crystal in the center of the room. It floated above a pedestal, flickering with tiny symbols and lights. Place the coin here, he said. Sam hesitated. Then, slowly, she stepped forward and set the coin atop the pedestal. The moment it touched the crystal, the lights flared. Images appeared in the air, flashes of her life, Sam tripping in gym class, missing the bus, dropping her lunch tray, getting a rejection letter, watching other kids leave with families while she stayed behind. Jeff frowned, his luminous mane dimming. Unprecedented. Your bad luck isn't random. It's chronic. Tell me something I don't know, Sam muttered. Jeff looked grave. This changes things. The coin's influence didn't just mask your bad luck. It balanced it, for the first time. So what happens if I give it up? She asked. Jeff didn't answer right away. Then, the imbalance will return. And so will your streak of misfortune. Silence settled over the room. Sam swallowed hard. She wasn't ready to go back. To fall into the shadows again. To be invisible. But the coin must be returned, Jeff added gently. There is another way. But it's risky. Sam looked up. What way? The bad luck side of the realm, Jeff said gravely. A place few go willingly. But perhaps, if something caused your streak, we can find it. Bob blinked. You mean sabotage? Jeff nodded. Or a deeper flaw in the system. A glitch. Sam straightened, heart pounding. Then I'll go. Bob snapped to look at her. Are you insane? That place is crawling with gremlins, cursed dust, probability pockets. I want to know, she said. Why it's always me. Why nothing ever works. If this place made all the luck, then maybe it made mine too. Jeff looked at Bob. You'll guide her. Bob groaned. I was afraid you'd say that. Jeff smiled faintly. Then it settled. The unicorn touched his horn to the pedestal. A ripple of magic spread outward, opening a circular gate in the floor, black and swirling like ink in water. The path to the bad luck side had opened. And Sam, for the first time in her life, was choosing to walk toward misfortune, to finally understand it. Would you like to continue with Chapter 5? Absolutely. Here's Chapter 5 of the 100,000-word novel-style retelling of Luck, 2022. Chapter 5. The Underbelly of Luck. Sam wasn't sure what to expect as they slipped through the darkened corridors beneath the Land of Luck, but the sight that greeted her still managed to make her skin crawl. The passageways were narrow, lined with walls of chipped marble and dripping green moss. The air was damp, thick with the scent of mildew and aged metal. The lights overhead flickered like malfunctioning fireflies, casting elongated shadows across the stone floors. Bob's tail flicked nervously, brushing against the walls as he led the way. Where are we? Sam whispered, her voice almost swallowed by the oppressive silence. Bob's eyes were narrow slits, scanning the dark ahead. The maintenance levels. Where the systems get messy. Messy, Sam echoed, looking around at the crumbling infrastructure. You're telling me the Land of Luck isn't all pretty and perfect? Bob snorted. Of course not. Not everything here is sunshine and rainbows. Some of it's more like shadow and rust. They passed by a door that appeared to be a sealed maintenance hatch, covered in faded warning labels. Sam could hear a faint hum from inside, followed by an odd metallic clicking sound. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. Bob noticed her unease and gave a dismissive flick of his ear. Don't worry. It's not important. They kept moving, the sounds of the city above them muffled and distant. The further they went, the more the atmosphere seemed to shift, less cheerful and more ominous. Eventually, they came to a large open chamber. The sight before them was both breathtaking and terrifying. A cavernous expanse stretched out in front of them, filled with enormous glowing crystals that pulsed like beating hearts. Giant, mechanical arms swung above, moving cables and rotating gears the size of small buildings. The machinery was impressive, but Sam couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. Bob stopped just short of the edge of the chamber, peering down into the vast expanse. This is the heart of the system. The randomizer is located on the far side. Sam followed his gaze, squinting into the dim light. In the distance, she could just make out the silhouette of a massive, rotating mechanism, something akin to a giant, glowing wheel with tendrils of light that seemed to stretch into every corner of the chamber. "The randomizer?" Sam asked, feeling a strange mixture of awe and dread. Bob nodded. "Yes. It's the core of everything here, the device that ensures the constant flow of luck between the human world and this one. If we don't return the coin, things could go wrong." The word wrong hung in the air, heavy with unspoken consequences. Sam stepped closer to him. "But why is it all so broken down here? I thought the land of luck was supposed to be perfect." Bob's expression darkened. "Everything has a price, Sam. You can't have good luck without a little bad in the mix. The maintenance levels, they deal with the consequences of that. Things go wrong, machinery malfunctions, luck gets corrupted. But no one talks about it because the captain doesn't want to deal with the truth." "Truth?" Sam echoed. "What do you mean?" "Not everything is as it seems here," Bob said quietly. "The captain keeps things running smoothly, but it's all an illusion. This world isn't perfect, Sam. It's built on balance. And if that balance is disrupted," he trailed off, his tail flicking nervously. Sam felt a chill slide down her spine. "Disrupted? By me?" "By you," Bob confirmed. "And by whoever, or whatever, decides to start pulling on that thread." Just then, a low mechanical hum vibrated through the floor, and the ground beneath them shifted. A low, mechanical growl echoed through the chamber, sending a ripple of unease through Sam's body. Bob froze, his eyes darting around the room. "What was that?" Sam asked, her voice low and tense. "Not good," Bob muttered, his tail twitching. "We're not the only ones down here. Something's watching." Before Sam could respond, the sound of footsteps echoed from the far side of the chamber. Heavy, metallic footsteps. Something, or someone, was approaching. Bob's fur bristled. "Hide. Now." They darted behind a set of large, glowing pipes that snaked up the side of the chamber. Sam crouched low, trying to steady her breath as she peered around the corner. A figure emerged from the shadows, its silhouette large and hulking. It moved with an eerie mechanical grace, its eyes glowing red like beacons in the dark. It was a towering construct, part metal, part organic, clad in armor that glinted in the dim light. "What is that?" Sam whispered, her eyes wide with fear. Bob's voice was barely audible as he answered, "The gremlins. The enforcers of the land of luck. They keep an eye on things, make sure no one messes with the system. And right now, they're very interested in us." Sam's heart raced as the creature passed by, its mechanical movements accompanied by the soft click of its joints. It was close enough that she could see the intricate details of its body, an unnerving fusion of metal and some kind of pulsing, organic material. It was almost like the thing was alive. The creature stopped, its head jerking to one side as if sniffing the air. Sam's breath caught in her throat. Did it sense them? A moment of silence passed before the gremlin slowly turned and continued its patrol, oblivious to their presence. Bob exhaled sharply. "That was too close. We need to move. Now." They darted through the shadows, slipping deeper into the maintenance levels. The further they traveled, the more intense the sense of danger grew, as if the very walls were closing in around them. Finally, after what felt like hours, they reached a large, reinforced door. Bob swiped a small, glowing card across the scanner, and the door slid open with a soft hiss. Sam stepped inside, her eyes wide as she took in the sight before her. The randomizer. It was even more massive up close. A colossal, spinning mechanism at the center of the room, encased in a glowing sphere of energy. Tendrils of light spiraled outward from it, feeding into the very fabric of the land of luck itself. Bob's voice was low, almost reverent. "This is it. The core. If we can get the coin back in there, we can fix everything." Sam nodded, a sense of awe overtaking her. But something in her gut told her this wasn't going to be as easy as just slipping the coin into the machine. There was more at stake here than just a misplaced coin. "Let's do this," she said, steeling herself for whatever came next. But as she stepped forward, the lights in the room flickered. A low growl rumbled from the shadows, and the sound of heavy footsteps echoed once again. This time, they weren't alone. Would you like to continue with Chapter 6? Here is Chapter 5 of the novel-style retelling of Luck, 2022. Chapter 5, The Pit of Chaos. The portal opened with a strange hollow sound, like a soft pop from inside her own skull. Sam felt the air around her ripple as if the fabric of reality itself was being torn open. The swirling darkness beckoned. "After you," Bob said with exaggerated reluctance, nudging her toward the portal. Sam glanced at him, her stomach twisting into a knot. She could hear the distant hum of the luck engine above them, still turning in perfect harmony. The bad luck side felt like the antimatter of everything she'd just seen, the perfect balance of the good luck side. Here, nothing was ordered. Nothing made sense. "Do I have to?" she asked, stepping back slightly. Bob gave her an exasperated look. "Trust me. You want answers, right? There's no other way." With one last, deep breath, Sam stepped forward. The world seemed to fall away beneath her feet. Then, the floor dropped entirely. There was no smooth landing this time. Sam tumbled through an endless pit of swirling shadows, slipping between cracks of unstable air, the colors of the world blending into sharp, jagged slashes. The coin in her pocket vibrated fiercely, like a heartbeat out of sync with everything else. She flailed her arms as the void below her twisted into chaotic, shifting forms. When she finally landed, hard asterisk, it felt as though she'd been dropped onto a bed of nails, sharp and jarring against every bone in her body. She gasped, trying to push herself up, her hands scraping against the cracked stone beneath her. "This is it," Bob said flatly, jumping down beside her with far less effort. "The bad luck side." Sam blinked. What she saw before her didn't look like anything she could have prepared for. The landscape was a fractured, apocalyptic wasteland. The ground was cracked like dried mud, only it shimmered with black light, veins of dark energy pulsing beneath the surface. Piles of twisted metal and broken machines lay scattered like forgotten trash. In the distance, shadowy figures skittered across the horizon, moving in quick, jerky motions as if they had no control over their own movements. It was the exact opposite of the pristine order of the good luck side. Every inch of this place seemed wrong. "This is where it all goes wrong," Bob muttered. "The things that can't be fixed. The places where balance is lost." Sam looked around. A gust of wind blew past, stirring the broken pieces of the world. As it passed, the air turned cold, biting at her skin. "Great," she said, rubbing her arms. "This place feels like a nightmare." "It is a nightmare," Bob replied. "And you're in the middle of it." Sam's heart began to race. What now? Bob eyed a nearby crumbled building that might have once been a marketplace, the windows now shattered and the walls sagging like they were too tired to stand. "We find the source of your bad luck. It's likely here somewhere. This is where everything gets off track." Sam followed him, her shoes crunching over the strange, metallic dirt. It felt unstable beneath her, as though the very ground could crumble away at any moment. She could barely keep her footing. "What kind of things live here?" she asked, looking around warily. The place was eerily silent except for the occasional screeching of metal. Bob grunted. "Gremlins, cursed objects, unstable probability pockets. It's a mess. The perfect place for bad luck to breed." "Lovely," Sam muttered under her breath. They walked in silence for a while, the sky above them a sickly shade of dark purple, thick clouds swirling and flashing with distant lightning. It felt like the air was static, ready to explode at any moment. Sam shivered. Then, she saw something that made her blood run cold. A tall, gaunt figure stood at the edge of the horizon, watching them. The figure was shrouded in a tattered cloak, its face hidden in shadow, but it was unmistakably there. The way it stood, completely still and unblinking, sent a ripple of dread down Sam's spine. "Do you see that?" she whispered, pointing. Bob stiffened. "Do not engage. That is one of the overseers. They manage the chaos here. They don't like when outsiders interfere." Sam watched the figure carefully. It made no move, but its head tilted toward them, its dark presence filling the space like an approaching storm. "We have to keep moving," Bob urged, his voice low. Before Sam could say anything, a deafening crack echoed through the air, and the ground beneath them split wide open. Sam gasped and scrambled back, but Bob was already pulling her toward a narrow, crumbling alleyway between two broken buildings. She barely had time to react as she was yanked out of the path of the giant fissure that opened in the earth with a deep, violent roar. They stumbled into the alley, breathing heavily, but the worst of the chaos seemed to have passed. "What the hell was that?" Sam demanded, her heart pounding. Bob shook his head, grimacing. "Probability. The more you stay here, the worse it gets. The system's malfunctioning." "Why?" Sam asked, still panting. "Why is everything so messed up?" Bob didn't answer right away. He looked around carefully, his tail flicking nervously. "We're close," he said finally. "But there's something we need to find first. Something that's been distorting the balance for years." "What is it?" Sam asked, her voice trembling. Bob's ears flattened, and his voice dropped to a whisper. "The catalyst. The source of all the bad luck here." Sam's eyes widened. "What is it? Where is it?" Bob didn't answer. Instead, he hurried forward, pushing through the wreckage of another building, his tail twitching as though sensing something just out of sight. "We'll know it when we see it," he muttered, his voice tight with tension. Sam followed, but a creeping sense of unease curled in her stomach. Every step seemed to echo louder in the hollow, broken landscape. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. And just as she thought she could hear the faintest whisper of footsteps behind her, Bob stopped. Asterisk there. Asterisk. Ahead, buried beneath layers of twisted metal and glowing remnants of some unknown machinery, was something Sam could only describe as a wound in the world. A rift. A tear. A place where the fabric of reality itself was unraveling. The catalyst. And Sam knew, in that instant, that it wasn't just the source of her bad luck. It was the reason everything was falling apart. Would you like to continue with Chapter 6? Here is Chapter 6 of the 100,000-word novel-style retelling of Luck, 2022. Chapter 6. The game has changed. The low growl reverberated through the room, and Sam froze. She could hear the scraping of metal against stone, the sound of something large and mechanical moving through the darkness. The room felt suddenly smaller, the walls pressing in on her. Bob's fur stood on end. "I knew it," he muttered. The gremlins must have activated the lockdown protocols. Sam didn't need to ask what that meant. She could feel it in the air. This wasn't just some routine patrol. They were hunted now. "Bob, what's going on?" Sam asked, her voice strained as she tried to peer through the shadows. The randomizer loomed in front of her, its glowing tendrils thrumming with energy, but all she could focus on was the approaching danger. Bob's claws scraped against the floor as he crouched low, his tail twitching nervously. "The gremlins. They've been monitoring the system for anomalies. The fact that you're here means we've triggered something. They're going to stop us from reaching the randomizer." "But we're so close," Sam whispered. "We can't let them stop us now." Bob met her eyes, his expression serious. "It's not that simple. If the gremlins catch us here, if we mess with the system in any way, they'll lock us out, and everything we've done will be for nothing." The sound of the gremlin's heavy footsteps grew louder, the scrape of its joints punctuated by the hiss of its mechanical breathing. Sam's heart pounded in her chest. There was no time to waste. "Then we'll have to move fast," Sam said, determination flashing in her eyes. She glanced at the massive, spinning core of the randomizer. "We need to get that coin in there now." Bob's tail twitched in frustration. "I don't know if we can do this without triggering a full-scale lockdown." "Then we'll have to outsmart them," Sam said, her mind racing. "There's no other option." They both looked up at the glowing randomizer. Its swirling tendrils of light pulsed like the beating heart of the land of luck itself. Every moment that passed made the threat of discovery grow closer, the echo of the gremlins' footsteps deafening in their ears. Bob's voice dropped to a whisper. "I'll distract them. You go for the coin." Sam nodded quickly, though she could feel the weight of the decision hanging over her. The gremlins were relentless, and their tracking systems were second to none. If she was caught trying to insert the coin, they would be trapped in this labyrinth forever. Without another word, Bob darted into the shadows, his movements quick and silent, his tail swishing behind him like a dark blur. Sam took a deep breath and stepped forward, her heart pounding. The closer she got to the randomizer, the more the air around her seemed to hum. The energy radiating from the massive machine was intoxicating, as though the very fabric of luck itself was within her grasp. She swallowed, trying to steady her hands, which trembled despite her best efforts. A faint glow caught her eye. The coin. It was tucked away in Bob's satchel, its smooth surface catching the ambient light of the randomizer's tendrils. Sam reached for it, her fingers brushing against the cool metal. She felt a pulse of energy shoot through her as soon as her hand touched it. The sensation was electric, both exhilarating and terrifying. The coin seemed to hum with power, almost as if it had its own heartbeat. "This is it," Sam whispered to herself, but before she could take another step, the ground beneath her feet rumbled. The sound of metal scraping against stone filled the air, and the gremlin was closing in. "Bob," Sam called, but her voice caught in her throat as she looked over her shoulder. She had no time to wait. She glanced at the randomizer, the swirling energy inside its core beckoning her like a siren's call. Without another thought, she sprinted toward it, clutching the coin in her hand. As she approached the center of the room, the randomizer's massive, glowing tendrils flared, sending ripples of light cascading across the floor. She could feel the force of its energy now, a magnetic pull that threatened to draw her in entirely. "Please work," Sam muttered under her breath. She could hear the gremlin's steps growing louder. She could feel the weight of their eyes on her, the crushing certainty that they would be caught. But there was no turning back now. Sam held her breath and hurled the coin into the heart of the randomizer. Time seemed to slow as the coin spun through the air. It hit the core with a resonant thud, sending a shockwave of energy through the room. The light from the randomizer intensified, and Sam could feel a surge of warmth course through her body. But just as she thought they had succeeded, the ground beneath her feet cracked open. The entire chamber trembled as the gremlin's heavy footsteps echoed louder and louder. Sam stumbled back, but it was too late. The room around her shifted. The tendrils of light from the randomizer flickered erratically before completely shutting down. The glowing energy that had filled the space now dissipated, and darkness settled in like a heavy blanket. "No," Sam breathed, her voice catching in her throat. "No, no, no." Bob appeared from the shadows, his eyes wide with panic. "We've been compromised." Before Sam could respond, the gremlin appeared, its crimson eyes glowing like hellfire. It lumbered into the room, its massive body casting a shadow that seemed to swallow everything around them. "You," it growled, its voice a deep, mechanical rasp. "You've tampered with the system." Bob's fur bristled, and he hissed, "You don't understand." But the gremlin didn't wait for an explanation. With a swift motion, it raised its arm, and a mechanical arm swung down from the ceiling, locking them both in place. The tension in the air was palpable. "We can't fix this," Sam whispered, her heart sinking. "We're too late." The gremlin stepped forward, its metallic joints creaking with every movement. "The system will reset. But you will not be part of it." Bob growled low in his throat. "You don't know what you're dealing with." Sam's mind raced. The gremlins were relentless. They were built for this. And right now, the only way out was through the heart of the system, a heart that was now broken. Sam's eyes darted around, searching for any way to escape. She saw a faint flicker of light in the distance, an opening, a gap in the chaos. "Bob," she whispered urgently, "we have one shot." Bob's gaze followed hers. A spark of hope flashed in his eyes, but it was quickly replaced by determination. "We're not out yet. Not by a long shot." And then, with a sudden burst of energy, they both leapt toward the gap, the darkness closing in behind them. The game had changed, and they were no longer just playing for their lives. They were playing for the fate of the Land of Luck. Would you like to continue with Chapter 7? Here is Chapter 6 of the novel-style retelling of Luck, 2022. Chapter 6. The Catalyst. Sam's breath caught in her throat as she stood in front of the rift. It wasn't a simple tear in the ground, like some kind of fissure. This was something far worse. The air shimmered around it, rippling like the surface of a disturbed pond. There were no clear edges, just swirling energies of purple and black, warping and twisting in on themselves as if the very laws of reality had been bent and snapped here. The catalyst was like a wound in the universe, leaking chaos and bad luck into everything around it. "That's it," Sam whispered, her voice unsteady as she looked at the swirling mass of energy. Bob didn't answer right away. His tail was twitching nervously, and his ears were flat against his head, his eyes fixed on the rift with an intensity that Sam had never seen before. "I've heard stories," Bob said, his voice low and cautious. "But I never thought I'd actually see it. The catalyst is what happens when luck goes wrong. Too much negative energy, too many imbalances, and this happens. It corrupts everything around it. Nothing can thrive near it." Sam took a step forward, instinctively drawn to the rift, but Bob grabbed her arm firmly, stopping her. "Don't get too close," he warned. "If you do, you'll get caught in the vortex. It can suck you in." Sam pulled back, taking a hesitant step away from the rift. Her heart was pounding in her chest, not just from the fear of the rift, but from the weight of everything she was realizing. The rift wasn't just a natural occurrence. It had been created, manipulated by something or someone. And if it was the source of all bad luck, that meant the power behind it was far more dangerous than anything she'd encountered before. "What's causing it?" Sam asked, her mind racing with the possibilities. Bob's gaze flickered briefly to the horizon, to the shadowy figures that still skittered in the distance. He didn't answer right away, his tail flicking nervously. "There's someone behind it," he said, his voice tight with uncertainty. "The catalyst doesn't just appear out of nowhere. There's an entity, something powerful, that has learned how to manipulate this chaos. They're the ones responsible for all of it." Sam's chest tightened. She had already been dealing with her own bad luck for years, but this was something on a much larger scale. And the idea that someone, was causing this, bending the very laws of luck to their will, made her stomach turn. "Who is it?" she asked quietly, dread seeping into her voice. Bob hesitated. His eyes flickered to the rift again, then back to Sam. "I don't know exactly, but I have an idea." "Who?" Bob looked as though he was weighing his words carefully. "The warden." "The warden," Sam repeated, her brow furrowing in confusion. "Who's that?" Bob sighed, clearly not eager to delve deeper into this, but he didn't have much choice. The warden is the one who's been holding all the bad luck in place. The one who controls this side of luck. If it weren't for them, this chaos wouldn't exist. But for some reason, they've decided to keep it going. They feed off of it, thrive on it. Sam's mind raced. But why? Why would anyone want to do that? Bob's ears flicked nervously. Power. Control. Fear. The warden thrives on making others miserable. Their goal isn't just to create bad luck, it's to amplify it, to make people feel like they're constantly stuck in a cycle of failure and misfortune. The more they suffer, the more power the warden gains. Sam felt a sick feeling rise in her throat. This was beyond anything she had ever imagined. Bad luck wasn't just a random series of unfortunate events. It was a weapon, something someone had chosen to wield. "So how do we stop it?" Sam asked, her voice firm despite the churning fear in her gut. Bob looked at her, his eyes wide with a mix of disbelief and caution. "We can't just stop it. It's not that simple. The warden's control over this side is too strong. We have to destroy the catalyst, but to do that, we need the right kind of energy, the kind of energy that can counteract the chaos." Sam's mind spun. Destroy the catalyst. Counter the chaos. It all sounded impossible. But the more she looked at the rift, the swirling vortex of bad luck that seemed to pull at her, to call to her, the more determined she became. "I'm not backing down," she said, her voice steady now. "I've dealt with bad luck my whole life. I'm not going to let some warden keep everything in this mess." Bob gave her a sharp, almost worried look. "It's not that simple. You don't understand, Sam. This isn't just about luck. The warden is powerful. Too powerful. Even if you destroyed the catalyst, it might not be enough. Sam's jaw set. She wasn't going to let that stop her. She had nothing to lose. There has to be a way, she said, determination fueling every word. We can't just let this continue. Not after everything people like me have been through. Bob's tail drooped slightly, as if he could feel the weight of her resolve. There might be one way, he said slowly. But it's dangerous. If you do it wrong, everything could collapse. And that's the end of everything. Sam's heart pounded. She didn't care. What's the way? Bob stared at her for a long moment, then nodded. You have to find the warden. You have to stop them before they can activate the catalyst and unleash the full force of their bad luck. If you can disrupt their control, it might be enough to sever the connection between the catalyst and the rift. But it's risky. Sam nodded, her eyes narrowing with resolve. Where do we find the warden? Bob looked toward the horizon again, his ears pricking as if he could sense something in the distance. We have to get closer to the source, to the heart of the warden's domain. It's a place called the Pit of Chaos. Sam's stomach tightened, but she wasn't about to back down now. Lead the way, she said, her voice unwavering. Bob gave her a long look, then nodded. Stay close. The pit isn't a place for the faint-hearted. Sam followed him, her heart thudding in her chest. The path ahead was uncertain, and the stakes couldn't be higher. But for the first time in her life, Sam wasn't thinking about her bad luck. She was thinking about the chance to make things right, to stop the chaos, to fix the world that had been broken for so long. The Pit of Chaos was waiting. Would you like to continue with Chapter 7? Here is Chapter 7 of the 100,000-word novel-style retelling of Luck, 2022. Chapter 7. The Shattered System. The room behind them erupted in chaos as the gremlin's mechanical arm swung wildly, crashing against the stone walls, sending debris flying. Sam's heart pounded in her chest as she pushed forward, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Her feet barely touched the ground as she sprinted toward the gap in the wall, the only escape route in sight. Bob was close behind, his fur sleek with tension as he dodged falling debris and the swirling remnants of the randomizer's energy. It was as though the whole system was unraveling, piece by piece, as they rushed toward the opening. Sam didn't dare look back. She could feel the weight of the gremlin's gaze, its presence looming like a shadow over their every step. But there was no time to waste. The very walls of the Land of Luck were crumbling, and they had to move faster than ever. The gap in the wall was smaller than it had seemed, but it was enough. With a final burst of energy, Sam dove through, her body hitting the cold stone on the other side. She didn't pause to check if Bob had made it through behind her. She simply rose to her feet and continued running. Behind them, the gremlin's roar reverberated through the corridors, and Sam knew that if they stopped for even a second, they would be caught. The entire system was collapsing around them, the once beautiful Land of Luck turning into a distorted, malfunctioning nightmare. The passage ahead was darker than anything they had passed through before. Sam squinted, her eyes adjusting to the dim light as they navigated through narrow, twisting tunnels that seemed to go on forever. The air felt heavier here, the weight of the impending disaster pressing on her chest. She could hear the faint sound of mechanical grinding in the distance, but there was no time to worry about that now. "Bob," Sam called over her shoulder. "Where are we going?" Bob's voice came from just behind her. "Somewhere the gremlins can't track us. Somewhere we can figure out what's going wrong." "Is it too late?" Sam asked, her voice strained as she glanced back, half expecting the gremlin to appear at any moment. "Is the system completely broken?" Bob hesitated, his voice low. "I don't know. I've never seen anything like this before. But if the system's been corrupted, it'll be hard to fix. We might have to go deeper into the system to find the root of the problem." "Deeper?" Sam echoed, her stomach churning. "How much deeper can we go?" Bob didn't answer immediately. Instead, he guided her through the winding corridors, always moving with purpose, his sharp eyes scanning every corner. Sam had to trust him, even if she wasn't sure he had all the answers. They reached a dead end after what felt like an eternity of running. The narrow corridor ended in a heavy steel door, old and rusted. Sam tried to catch her breath as Bob approached it and inserted a small, glowing keycard into the slot. The door clicked open, revealing a vast, empty chamber. The walls were lined with enormous machines, all humming with a low, eerie vibration. The lights overhead flickered, casting long shadows across the room. It was a stark contrast to the sleek, vibrant halls they had passed through earlier. "This is it," Bob said, his voice barely above a whisper. "The core of the system." Sam's eyes widened as she took in the sight of the massive machinery. The walls seemed alive with energy, the air thick with the hum of complex systems and endless gears. It was both beautiful and terrifying, the heart of the land of luck laid bare in front of them. Bob turned toward her, his expression grave. "This is where the real work happens. The randomizer, the fortune makers, the whole system, it all starts here." Sam swallowed, trying to steady her breath. "And this is where we fix it." "If we can," Bob replied. "The heart of the system is delicate. One wrong move, and it could implode. But we don't have much time." Sam took a deep breath. The weight of the moment settled over her, and she felt the enormity of the task ahead. It was no longer just about fixing the system or putting the coin back in place. This was about restoring the balance of the entire world. "You've got to be kidding me," Sam muttered under her breath. "We're in way over our heads." Bob let out a soft chuckle, though it lacked its usual levity. "I know the feeling." They moved further into the chamber, weaving through the maze of machines. Sam couldn't help but stare at the intricate mechanisms that surrounded them, huge rotating gears, pulsing tubes of light, and enormous energy conduits that hummed with an unsettling power. It was like walking inside the very pulse of the land of luck itself. At the center of the room, a massive, spherical device sat on a raised platform. The device seemed to glow with a strange, otherworldly light. It was far more intricate than anything Sam had ever seen, its surface shimmering with patterns of light that shifted in time with the hum of the machinery. Bob approached the device cautiously, his fur standing on end as he studied it. "This is the heart of luck," he said. "The mechanism that holds the balance of the entire system." Sam stepped closer, feeling a strange pull toward it, as if the device itself was calling to her. "This is it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We have to fix it." Bob nodded, his eyes narrowing in concentration. "But the coin, it's not enough. We need something else. We need the source of luck." "The source of luck," Sam repeated, confusion coloring her words. "What's that?" Bob's eyes flickered with hesitation, as though he were choosing his words carefully. "The source is a raw, unrefined form of luck. It's what powers everything here, the randomizer, the fortune makers, even the gremlins. Without it, the entire system is unstable. If we don't find the source, it won't matter what we do. The land of luck will fall apart." Sam's mind raced. They had come so far, only to find out that the solution was even more complicated than they had realized. The source of luck. They had no idea where it was or how to access it. "How do we find it?" Sam asked, determination rising in her chest. She wasn't ready to give up now, not when they were this close. Bob's expression darkened. "There's only one place we can look." "Where?" Sam pressed. Bob turned and motioned toward a large door at the far end of the chamber. "The vault." Would you like to continue with Chapter 8? Here is Chapter 7 of the novel-style retelling of Luck, 2022. Chapter 7, Into the Pit. The city faded into the distance as Sam and Bob made their way toward the outskirts. The air grew heavier, thicker with the weight of something wrong, something not quite natural. The streets became fewer, the buildings lower and crumbling, and the shadows seemed longer, stretching toward them as if eager to swallow them whole. Sam could feel it, the pull of the unknown. The pit of chaos wasn't a place people ventured into lightly. No one talked about it. Those who had once tried to find it never returned. The land around it was barren, forgotten by time, and littered with remnants of failed hopes. And yet, here she was, heading directly toward it. The sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of blood orange and deep purple. The last vestiges of light fought to stay in the sky, but they were being overtaken by the creeping night. The world around them was quiet, too quiet, like it was holding its breath. "How much farther?" Sam asked, her voice carrying the edge of frustration. She had been walking for what felt like hours, and the air had a chill to it that gnawed at her skin. She pulled her hoodie tighter around her, glancing nervously at the darkening horizon. "Not far now," Bob replied, his voice steady but laced with an undertone of unease. His paws padded softly along the cracked ground, his tail trailing behind him like a worried afterthought. "Just keep following the path." Sam nodded, but her thoughts were racing. The warden was still out there, somewhere, manipulating the catalyst and all the bad luck in the world. But every step they took toward the pit, the more uncertain everything seemed. If they didn't find the warden soon, would it be too late? "You're sure this will work?" Sam asked, trying to keep the doubt from creeping into her voice. "This whole plan, disrupting the catalyst, finding the warden, all of it?" Bob didn't answer right away. He seemed to be considering her question carefully, his tail flicking nervously as his golden eyes scanned the bleak landscape. "It's the only way," he said at last, but his voice had an edge of doubt in it too. "The catalyst feeds on imbalance, on the chaos the warden creates. Without it, everything could stabilize again. But if the warden gets to the catalyst first—" His words trailed off, leaving an unspoken fear hanging in the air. Sam swallowed hard, the weight of their mission pressing down on her. It felt as if the universe itself was conspiring against them, trying to pull them back. But she wouldn't let it. She couldn't. "Then we'll get there first," she said, her voice low but firm. She glanced at Bob, her gaze unwavering. "We have to." Bob studied her for a long moment, then gave a soft, resigned nod. "You've got the spirit, Sam. I'll give you that." They walked in silence for a while longer, each step heavier than the last, until they reached a point where the ground beneath them seemed to slope downward, the earth crumbling into a vast, empty pit. The sky above was now black, the stars faint and distant. And there, before them, was the pit of chaos. Sam's breath caught in her throat as she gazed down at the chasm. It wasn't a pit in the traditional sense. There was no deep hole to climb into. Instead, it was as though the very fabric of the world had split open here, revealing a rift that stretched far beyond her vision. The air above it shimmered with strange, unnatural colors, swirling in patterns that seemed almost alive. Dark, smoky tendrils curled out of the rift, reaching like hands for the sky, and the ground around it was a wasteland, cracked, blackened, and utterly desolate. This was where the catalyst had been born, where the warden's power thrived. And this was where it would all end. "I've heard stories about this place," Bob said quietly, his voice a whisper now. "People who got too close to the pit. They say you can hear the voices of all the unlucky ones who've ever fallen here. Their regrets, their fears, their broken dreams." Sam didn't want to think about that. She didn't want to let the weight of the world's misfortunes pull her down. She had enough of her own. Instead, she focused on the task at hand. She stepped forward, her eyes locked on the swirling darkness before her. The catalyst was somewhere within that blackened rift, its chaotic energy pulsing like a heartbeat, waiting for the moment to unleash its full power. "This is it," Sam said, her voice stronger now, even as her legs shook beneath her. "This is where we end it." Bob nodded gravely. "You ready?" Sam took a deep breath. She didn't feel ready. She didn't know if she ever could be. But she was here. And she wasn't turning back. "Let's go." They descended into the pit, the ground beneath them shifting with each step. The air thickened, becoming heavier with each passing moment. A sense of dread settled over Sam, settling in her chest like a stone. "Stay close," Bob warned, his voice strained. "This place is full of danger. The catalyst has been feeding on this land for far too long. It's corrupting everything around it." As they ventured deeper, the temperature dropped, and the swirling darkness grew more intense. Sam could feel it, the weight of the bad luck, the negative energy that clung to everything. It was in the air, in the ground beneath her, and it seemed to reach out with invisible tendrils, trying to pull her down, to drown her in despair. But Sam wasn't going to let it. She refused to be swallowed whole by the darkness. She had come too far to stop now. The deeper they went, the more the ground shifted. The path beneath them became unstable, cracking open in jagged, sharp edges. The swirling energy around them seemed to intensify, a low hum vibrating through the air. Then they saw it. A massive figure stood in the center of the pit, its shape hazy and indistinct, but its presence undeniable. It was as if the darkness itself had taken form, a hulking mass of shadows and chaos, with a pair of glowing red eyes that pierced through the gloom. The warden. It was watching them. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 8?